I've never said this before, but Marc the owner would have sacked Marc the manager 100% a few years ago. There's a definite. All my friends are football managers in the Football League, etc. And if they'd have made the mistakes I'd made on signings and budget and overspent, Marc would have got Marc in and said, listen, Marc, I'm afraid to say, mate, this hasn't worked out. We were actually relatively disillusioned Premier League fans. We're spending a lot of money travelling around. We followed Wimbledon. The irony was, the one thing we really started enjoying without realising it was the winning. You will make decisions in the business side of football purely based on the fact you just want to win. And there's probably not a lot of logic beyond that. We started step 17, the very bottom of the pyramid. We've built 2 stadiums. We've had 12 promotions. We've gone from a park side, having fun and going to the pub afterwards, to playing at Wrexham live on TV. We've gone from a fun park footballer to a professional footballer full time. And we've gone from having no supporters to having international recognition. A lot of people come to watch us from all over the world because
Good afternoon, Marc. Welcome to the Business of Sport. Amazing to have you in, mate.
Charlie, great to be here. I really appreciate the invite to a podcast that operates off of actual interest and integrity, something so esteemed. So thank you. Thanks for the invite.
You've used all the right words there. You've done a good few of these. Like some of my favourite pods as well. You've done stuff like Peter Crouch. You've done Under the Cosh. So I'm hoping it lives up to the experiences you had there. We're giving you a nice shirt, right, to start with. So
yeah. I mean, look, I've been used as a stooge, right, for clickbait type stories from my checkered management career. But yeah. I've done some great stuff, and I love football like you. And obviously, there's a big other side to Dorking Wanderers.
But actually, the best part of this industry is just being able to sit down and have a discussion around what's really good about it, what's challenging about it, where it's at right now, what club ownership's like. In your case, what club ownership, club management, club chairmanship, club chief executive. I mean, how many roles I don't know you've got at the moment, but there's quite a few, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's a lot of roles, responsibilities that come with running a football club.
You've done the hard bit, though. You're not just running one, you founded one.
I founded it, right, and it was... Sometimes it seemed a little bit made up, but initially it was just like, can we just enjoy the social aspect? We were actually relatively disillusioned Premier League fans. We're spending a lot of money travelling around. We followed Wimbledon back in the day, the crazy gang Premier League. The irony was, the one thing we really started enjoying without realising it was the winning.
Yeah.
And it's much underrated in football is how much fans, despite wanting their club to survive, how much owners, despite wanting to run their club sustainably, it's much undervalued how much people default to wanting to win. At the drop of a hat, I'm not going to sign that player on a Thursday, but when I woke up on a Friday, I want to win Saturday. I'm going to sign him. It's relatively sort of drug fueled on wanting to win. We've done it at all levels. We've gone from that park paying £5, literally putting the nets up, and I literally used to iron the socks. I mean, I've done it all, right? There's way more than that, but it went from there to playing live on TV at Wrexham. But the one thing that never leaves you is you will make decisions in the business side of football purely based on the fact you just want to win.
Yeah.
And there's probably not a lot of logic beyond that.
And then there you've summed up football ownership, I'd imagine.
Thank you.
You've covered it on, at length, I know, in shows, but I think it's really important just to give the people who may not have heard it the grounding in it, because that story, it is very unique, as is the roles you've taken in the club, as is the journey that you guys have gone on since 1999, right, when you set it up. Was it 99?
I appreciate that, Charlie. 99. Yeah.
Okay, check. 12 promotions, 23 years, huge success, huge challenges, I'd imagine, amazing time. So give the little story so people can really get the context before we go into all the really smart stuff. Yeah.
No, thanks. Exactly. So, basically, a bunch of friends, 1999, start a team, disillusioned with the Premier League, as I said before. Yeah, we started step 17, the very bottom of the pyramid. And we've had 12 promotions in 23 years. So we've gone from having... we had to move from the park because the local authorities said, because as you go up the leagues, you have to have the ground has to improve with it. So that's the first big financial issue you're going to come up against. But when you go from step 17 to step 15, it could be, and it was, you just need to put a rope around the pitch. It was literally like that. And then it escalates to your pitch has got to be within a certain distance of the changing rooms, because actually when you first start at the lower level, you've all been at Hackney Marshes, you're walking 2 miles with the kit in your bag. Then it goes to you need a concrete path, you need 3 concrete paths, then you need maybe some seats, then you need floodlights. So we've had to develop across that period 2 grounds in addition to that park field. We had nowhere to go, so we went up, I think, 4 or 5 promotions. We couldn't get promoted again without finding our own piece of land. I went around the whole of the local area just looking at what was recreational authority owned land. Went to one place, looked at it. They said, look, Mark, there's no power, there's no water. You can have it if you want. No one's ever done anything with it because there's no power and water. We spent that summer digging trenches, and it's been there's been no benefactor. It's been like the local community. It's been everything we can drum up commercially. Local businesses supporting the project, volunteers. So we've built 2 stadiums along the way. We've had 12 promotions. We've gone from a park side, having fun and going to the pub afterwards, to playing at Wrexham live on TV. We've gone from not even a semi-pro footballer, we've gone from a fun park footballer to a professional footballer full time, and everything in between. And we've gone from having no supporters, not one, to having, international recognition. A lot of people come to watch us from all over the world because we've got I don't really crow on about. We've got the British record for promotions. There's nobody got more promotions than us.
You basically kind of, if you can call it, you completed the non-league, right? In where you play.
We went from step 17 to step 1, and we're very proud of that kind of promotion record. But the higher up you go, it obviously becomes dependent more on money, resources. Which is not easy, but
it's not easy.
You still want to win.
You do. So, okay, money and resources. You've just said you were paying £5 per person to rent a pitch in the beginning. Then you're talking about renovating 2 stadiums. How on earth are you financing something like this? Because I'd imagine there's a massive dream to be had, but there's also a financial reality you've got to recognise as you actually try and activate each of those steps. We
were dining out on a lot of contra deals. If you'll give us a digger for the trench, then we'll put a sign around the pitch. It was a very much that. I remember the guy that gave us the rope to this day, he said, it's cost me £400. He said, I can't really afford to give it. He said, please give us the rope to put around the pitch or we can't continue. We bought our first set of floodlights. We got really lucky. We bought them a second-hand. Sainsbury's had bought out Wisbech Town. They had bought them a new ground, and Wisbech have only just got floodlights 2 years previous, and they weren't taking the floodlights with them. So we bought them about 40% of what they cost them, and they were brand new. So we've ducked and dived. We've used initiative, hard work, combination of all.
And explain the different roles that you have, that you do hold. This is a brilliant, for anyone that hasn't seen anything previously, this is one of my favourite elements of it, but I also don't want to trivialise it because you've clearly done an amazing job as you've sat across those various positions. Go on. Blow your own trumpet, basically.
Well, no, obviously, I started the club, so I'm the owner. Majority shareholder still, chairman. We've now got a chief exec. We've broadened we've got a lot of permanent staff now that really help us be brilliant. But for many, many years, I was the chairman, owner, chief exec, kitman, manager, still manager to this day. So I'm still the chairman, majority owner and manager to this day. I still oversee everything because it's like my baby, isn't it? It's been there from day one. I take everything personally because obviously it's my club and ultimately I started it from day one. But we've also gone from the 11 boys that started it, the bunch of friends, to we've now got over 1,000 players between 4 years old and walking football, all play for Dorking Wanderers as well, And now we've got about 200 academy students in education, full-time education that play football. And we're now developing players as well. My role has been across the whole club. Yeah. But I wake up still and want to be the manager and I want to lead us to our next victory.
Okay. Jokes aside, as you get higher up the leagues and you get more professional, the conflicts between those, I'd imagine, were maybe slightly harder to manage. Even now, can you genuinely be the chairman, the top decision maker, and the manager? Where's accountability?
Well, I mean, I'm lucky because I don't know where I developed this, but maybe it's just a organic thing. But I've kind of got that ability to. Probably one of my strengths is I will always gauge opinion. I'll always, respect those around me and what they're there for. I'm quite good. I don't make stubborn decisions or don't operate in self-interest. On the football management side, the most common question is, when will you step down? And I think it's if I feel like somebody could do a better job, then I definitely I've always said I'll step down. The question I now get after that is, but blimey, what happens commercially to the club? Because you're the face of the club and it's less interesting if you're not the manager. That's become an issue.
Yeah.
But no, I've got a lot of great people around me. I'd like to say decision making is made in general across the people that we deploy in the club, albeit with me having that sort of follow my nose instinct along the way.
Big decision to bring in a chief executive, right? I'd imagine. Yeah. And for you, what did you want to implement by having that individual in the club?
Well, a bit like, I know you'll come on to in a bit about new co-owners, but it was trying to find like-minded people, a little bit crazy.
I love the way you say that with a smile on your face.
I know, a little bit like-minded. Dorking we're not like any other, and if we were, then it wouldn't really be that interesting, because we've got this backdrop of we'll always be the underdog. We have to be. Doesn't matter what position we get to, we will be the underdog because of what we've done, where we come from. So, getting somebody in, Jonathan Bynes, our chief exec, who is quirky and gets it, and he's very good at managing me and, being the conduit in all number of situations. And because I think in any organisation, sometimes if you can't get the right people, you're better off having no people, almost, that's how I see it.
Okay. And then the ownership, you mentioned it. Go on. So you've had, 27, moving into 27 years where you've run this club. And if we now look at that, you've made a decision on a chief executive, and you're looking at, should we say, an inclusive now, by the looks of it, ownership model. Why?
Yeah.
And what are they doing and who are they?
Yeah. So Deborah Tucker, Frank Valère. So they are incredibly mental, and they're from New Jersey, and they've got tattoos on them, an incredible couple saying, "Why not us?" And they look at you and they go, "Why not us?" Yeah, they've been incredibly successful, like all of us know, by in life chasing the ace and being optimistic and working hard, right? Okay, great outlook on life. We actually started an ownership group, I think it was 2023.
With the fans, right?
With the fans. Yeah. And a lot of that was off the back of the well-publicised, all the problems during COVID and the amount of clubs that went awry, and looking at the independent regulator coming in. And then I just looked at it and thought, clubs have to be protected ultimately. And how can we protect Dorking? So we've got about 750 in an ownership group. And what was great about that was it gave us this eclectic mix of, skill sets, opinions, people we could lean on, people that cared, people to spread the word, you name it. And that's been invaluable, and something that I think if people sit me down and say, give me great advice on, a football club in non-league or even the football league, I think if the fans have decision making, if they have a huge interest in the club, I feel like that is what will always kind of be a foundation level behind things. So we've got 700 odd in an ownership group anyway, of varying degrees, and they are actively involved. I see them all the time. And then Frank and Deborah come in on a more significant basis, I guess you could call it, in terms of their shareholding, leaving me the majority shareholder. And that's because we've got a dream, right? All of us, the ownership group, we're all delighted Frank and Deborah are here. They are 100% the people I just described a minute ago that will say there's no way we're spending £1 million on that player on a Thursday night and then wake up and go, is it in your bank yet? because they want to win.
Yeah.
They operate with integrity, and we spent a lot of time together, and they're great people.
Did you do it because you were looking for investment, or did you do it because you came across them, you built a relationship with them, and you thought they'd be amazing to have in the club?
Yeah, it's 100% the latter.
Really?
And then obviously what comes with that is investment, etc. We've got a couple of capital projects that we're working on that are going to make a big difference to the club, so that helps. But in reality, in football, like, money comes and goes, and there's no amount of money in football from the top down. Yeah, someone says, oh, they've sold that player for, Newcastle, Gordon, 80 million. It's like, that 80 million is forgotten and spent and gone in 2 minutes. And at any level of football, we were speaking off air about the fact is, if you gain money, you'll then look at that, well, how can we spend that money in a way that can take the club forward? And quite often the thoughts are around improving on the field, because on the field actually does improve off the field. It's a difficult mix to get your head around. Sorry, Charlie.
No, but that's the point, isn't it? I mean, you're literally saying about the importance of winning, and that's why everyone chases that win, because if you can improve it on the pitch, then the likelihood is that you'll probably improve it off it. But also, if you get it wrong chasing the win, you can also then leave yourself on that flip side.
Yeah, but it's the same all over. Like, so some of the ownership group will say, Mark, do you think we need to be careful and maybe just spend a bit more money on the training ground or on the academy? And I'm like, well, we can, but we're mid-table. People are less interested. Less people turn up to watch. Less people buy a burger, buy a beer. Less people want to sponsor us. There's less interest. The story's not as great. So, there's this kind of like, we're always on this kind of like tipping point of what's best. Yeah. And I think that's why it's the greatest game. I think that's why it's so interesting.
Yeah, but again, as you said, I can't remember. Well, you just said it off air. You said, if you make £5, you want to spend 6, right, on players generally. And
in general.
It's the mentality within the sport. Challenging, of course, to manage, but also one of the things that makes it continually competitive, because it's also, everything needs reinvestment. Most important. Yeah. If you're going to keep stuff growing, you need to put money back into it, make sure it's thriving, see what you can do with that money. But then the challenge is always, well, yeah, okay, fine, but can I still run the club and be sensible?
It's very difficult. We've definitely spent way more money than we would like, and we've spent £2-3 million in the last 2, 3, 4 years on just getting because obviously what comes with the promotions is the ground having to be built behind you.
Yeah.
So we've spent way more money than we would like there. We've overspent on players, I think, at times, and we've never quite got it right, but we've managed to strike the balance between being interesting, competitive, retaining that underdog spirit of Dorking. And we are the thing I like the most about us and what we've done is how much other people appreciate it. Like, we've got so many fans where we're their second team. They've supported Oldham their whole life, but they've got a Dorking shirt. They come down twice a year. They love the club. They love what it's done, and that's good recognition for us. But no, we've made a fair share of mistakes, but we've tried to balance up. We've got to be interesting. We can't say, well, we want to consolidate. Really,
yeah.
We might maybe think it unconsciously, but we can't say that.
Do you have the discipline, you think, on the player's side that's required to do this? And again, I'm quite interested in that, where you're looking at stuff maybe as an owner, having to be the person that may have to write a check, versus the manager going, cool, I love him in my team.
I mean, if the owner, I've never said this before, but Marc the owner would have sacked Marc the manager 100% a few years ago. That's a definite. All my friends are football managers in the football league, etc. And if they'd have made the mistakes I've made on signings and the budget and overspending, probably the owner Marc would have got Marc in and said, "Listen, Marc, I'm afraid to say, mate, this hasn't worked out." But I'm fortunate, I'm very fortunate that at the moment I'm not going to take that hard line on myself.
We joke again, it's a very unique position, but the club is a very serious football club. I don't want to trivialise any of laughing about it because of it, being quite an interesting dynamic to take away from actually, you have your first game this weekend against Dagenham and Redbridge, or just after that game. You guys have been one division away from the Football League very recently, right? So when I do ask these, I mean them really seriously, but it is that challenge, I guess, for you to be able to manage. I mean, it is so unique from a business perspective to hold a performance job and an executive job. When we talk to people across multiple clubs, the biggest challenge you have in the executive is the separation. It's, how do I stop the owner getting on the phone to the manager on a Sunday night after we've lost, trying to dictate the team? It's like, well, Marc the owner can call Marc the manager and have that conversation. But does everyone involved in the club, do the players involved in that club, have you just been able, because of the relationship you've had from the start, to build a feeling, I guess, within there where it doesn't have that kind of comic approach, and actually it's treated very much as a serious part of this business.
Yeah, I think it's a great observation. I think that's exactly how it is. Like it's almost like the longer that I've been at the helm, everything's become more cultural, and people understand when they're in the building. They understand kind of like what it means, how it works. They understand that I operate with a great deal of fairness. You know, that many a time I'll stand there in front of the players 5 minutes after the game finished and say, listen, no one's getting bollocked today because I'm going to take responsibility for that. I picked the wrong team, I picked the wrong formation, whatever. And I go across the club in that format. And I found like it's always served me well, really. It's just to operate in a way where I'm the first to put my hand up, but I'm also the first to expect you to put your hand up. And just kind of have that kind of facility, if you like, as a club.
Yeah. Did you ever feel moments where, from the managerial side, right, without the history behind you, the qualifications, whether they mean anything or not, where you were like getting out of your depth, where you were pushing beyond the realms of what you could do?
I'm under my depth with that. Really? Definitely. Yeah. I'm not. I don't really talk myself up ever. But I'm under my depth with that. I could manage as high as I wanted to. I'm obsessed by football. You know, what I don't know about formations versus formations is not worth knowing. I keep in touch with it because the modern game so determines that no sooner is everyone dining out on a box midfield and there's a new diamond midfield, and football's become multifaceted, and that's why there is a dinosaur manager, if you like, that used to do brilliantly and they won't anymore because it's so complex now. So no,
I love that. So yeah, so you can
managing.
Go high.
Yeah, I've managed against a lot of top managers, and it's got me out of bed. I've loved it, and I've beat them because I've outthought them, whatever.
Have you ever felt that there's been a chip on some of the shoulders around that from people that you compete against who have maybe gone through that really traditional route,
100%.
and then like, this guy's come and puts himself in, buys a club and manages it?
Yeah, 100%. I just think they would have thought probably, look, we're not letting this idiot in this hat that's online shouting at people, because no one would really take the football in me seriously, because obviously they get to see a lot of content where it's just the fun me and the character me, but obviously to be that successful takes a lot of doing. So I think on the managing side is I'm confident in.
I love this. This is so exciting for me. Normally, right, it's business or performance.
So
philosophy of football, right? What is your philosophy of football, and how you like to play, how you see the game?
I mean, coming through the leagues, our kind of ethos was that if our coach and the way our team played was of a higher level, even if we didn't quite have the players to do it, then we could out-coach everybody. So back in the day, like, I'm only talking 10 years ago, right? Take 20 teams, honestly, you would get 18 of them play a back four, even 10 years ago, right? It's now the opposite, right? But the point is, we'd be the team that played a back three, would have a set system to play. No, none of the coaches were up to speed. They couldn't work it out. I say it all the time, we won promotion after promotion just on out-coaching other clubs and teams, and we've done that for years. It's a little bit like, where's it going to end with this? Because now we're getting to the modern era, and this is why you get so many rubbish games, because it's so easy to cancel out. It's like chess. Yeah. It become like chess, Football's evolved on the field incredibly a lot. I mean, it's a whole different episode probably, but...
Well, you look at what happened last year, right? Let's just say in the Premier League, and suddenly you get what we can all class, and everyone moaning about Route 1, long throw-ins, football that we would have associated with however long. Everyone loses their minds on what it really means. But it's cyclical, right?
Yeah.
Things go in, things go out. How long until we get back to two up front? 4-4-2, that's what I long for.
It really is. Yeah, exactly. Back to 4-4-2. But there are people now starting to adopt like a new school 4-4-2, and it's different, right? But I guess that's what's great about it. It keeps you guessing. I mean, there was a manager at Notts County, Luke Williams, who's amazing. He's the Peterborough manager now. And when we played against Luke, he had a philosophy around, at that point, that he would never ever put the ball in the box from a corner. So the polar opposite to Arsenal, if you like, who think, right, here we go, the bell's ringing, we score 40% of these. His attitude was, my Notts County team does 70% possession every single game. We score 3 corners a year. So I reckon I'll score more goals from retaining the ball at every corner than I will putting in the box. And he'd go 3 people short. If the other team sent 3 players out, he'd send a 4th, and it would just keep going until he found an extra man to play short from the corner. But my point is, I think what's fascinating about football now is that there are a million philosophies in the game, but it's I don't know if you can say this. I guess you can. It's a young man's game, or it is a very educated person's game. I.e., you need to be up to speed, or you'll get left behind. This is why the guy at Brighton's, 30 plus VAT, right? These people are young and they're carving out their careers. It's a young man's game, and I mean that in the sense of it's a kind of academic, stat-driven industry.
Have you started to implement that, right?
Yes.
Everyone with their data and what it means. Well, most importantly, right, it's not just data, it's analytics.
It really is. We've been into Fulham and Charlton and consulted on what they're doing, because we want to change. We want to get art as good as it can be. It's unbelievable now. It's live data. So basically all week long, you are, every single time you train and play, we know exactly how far you've sprung, how far you run. They set up the weekly training load. So they'll say, well, you've got to run. This is how it works in general. During the season, they'll say, I want everyone to run 2.5 times their match load, and it's positional. So if the centre back does 11k a game, then 2.5 times that is what they'll set the week up on. And also the sprint distance within that, they've got to get it spot on. And if they can't get it spot on, they'll top it up, they'll take it away. It's meticulous. And there's some clubs now that even put that software on the players whilst they're out on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So if they're walking, they say, hold on a minute, they're coming on a Monday, what were you doing yesterday? And he says, well, I went for a run with my mate. Do you know what I mean? Could they, such is injury prevention, such is optimum performance, they want everyone within an inch of scientifically what they believe works.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a cost financially as a business to doing this? Can you do this properly, investment side, right? Can you do this at the level you're at?
Very affordable. Okay. Yeah, I've told quite a few people at my level recently, I'm like, you know what, because the
assumption is it's like, oh, okay, that sounds quite expensive. Or
yeah, but we spent 300 grand last year on players to replace injured players.
But it's always the thing, isn't it? You spend a penny off the pitch.
Yeah.
And suddenly 15 grand looks like a massive outlay that you'll go the next day. So you'll go and shell 200k or something.
Yeah,
but it's great. It's going to help us win the league.
Charlie, that's it. You must know it, because that's exactly, to get live data bolted onto what we have, it's about 15 grand.
Yeah.
And then when I looked at it and thought, well, hold on a minute, let's just look at what we spent on loan players last year for all the boys that were injured. And also, let's just remember the pain of getting beaten in the playoff semi-final at Torquay United. And when we had no centre back because they was all injured, and that 15 grand becomes good value.
Massively.
Yeah.
Massively. But does your fan base, like, let's say normally, football clubs have to answer, and I say in inverted commas, answer to a fan base, right? They're scrutinised on every decision they make. And particularly now in this day and age where everyone knows that money is hugely important to success. If you do go and improve some of the infrastructure around you, if you do go and invest in some of the data around you, and that's not going to your new star striker, fans get a bit itchy. Right, because it's short term, not long term. But for your fans, the whole club and I guess the story around the club, is it slightly different? Do you have that slightly different relationship with the fans where there's almost just this kind of trust, and that whatever you're doing, we're kind of with you for?
I think that's a great summary. I'm very lucky because in general, that kind of like, well, we've got to trust Mark because he's got this club to where it is. Why wouldn't we trust him? I don't think that's guaranteed to stay.
Yeah,
I think it's down to me to continue to make good decisions and always make sure we can claim to progress the club on and off the field. I think the fans are big on sustainability in general. I think they want sustainability whilst remaining interesting and whilst trying to put up trees and create new stories, So, but yeah, I'm very, very lucky. Good fan base. They get it.
What do you think? What are the hardest decisions you have to make?
Honestly, just contractual ones with players, because see, I built the team on blood, sweat and tears and friends and relationships. So I feel like a lot of our success also came from continuity of players. So at any one time, there'd normally be 3 to 4 players that have been there 7-8 years. There's a boy in our squad now, he's in the 11th year, 11 years at the club. So the point being the model was, well, we'll keep this core players together. They know the culture, they love the club, they get it, and we'll just building around that as we go up. A few will fall off, a few will come in, and we've always got this core in the middle. So when I get to ripping up contracts time and saying, look, your time's done at the club, genuinely that is I don't find that easy. That's tough, because there's players that I think we wouldn't be where we are without you, but now it's time for you to go, and that's hard.
Brutal industry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sport in general, but football in particular, when it comes down to that point, you always see the moment to move on. The success that can be created by a group isn't always the success that gets continued by that group. But
if I'm not the founder and the manager and all of that, I probably find that easier. But because of the heartbeat kind of being created, it's difficult.
More broadly, we had a great chat, as you said before you came in. What do you think about the business of football at the moment?
Yeah, I think I massively look at football as a lover of the game. And I think what's great about football is whether you're an official or an owner, a majority of people have the game at heart. And football, people don't realise how fragmented it is. So like all the all the US guys are really jealous of the pyramid over here, right? But every single piece of the pyramid is a separate company. I mean, people don't even realise. Obviously we know the Premier League is, but the EFL, the National League, is a separate entity, and that goes all the way down the ladder. So I feel like if you extrapolate that, the decision making around decisions for the game are often very, very protracted, fragmented. You've not always got the right people in the room. We see at the moment all this, all the two arguments around, we've got financial fair play, then we've got making sure there's sustainability in those community clubs. And I feel like there's never really a task force all-encompassing that addresses all of it without any kind of like self-interest in the room. It's difficult. And I think that's why there's a lot of things out there that don't make total sense.
There's lots of ways you can look at it, but let's say maybe in capping of free market economics, open systems, let's call it cold hard capitalism, right?
Yeah.
You lose some of the value that's been created by the most incredible. We've created the most insane product, the Premier League, right? It's the Frankenstein in a way that now you can't control it. So you're having to find ways to reduce spend.
Yeah.
Do you sit on the school of thought of, yes, but it has to happen? Or do you know what? That really worries me.
It worries me big time. Yeah. I think ultimately Premier League, I guess, had a monopoly, right, on the industry across the world, really. I don't think anything lasts forever. I think there's change, there's scenarios. I know we've seen the Saudi attempts and stuff, but there's practical reasons why that's not going to work. But I think it's a dangerous game. The Premier League, to their credit, they fund football top down. They fund it. They fund the Football Foundation. They fund football top down, and we have got the best product in the world. And we're now in a position whereby I think football's always best when you break it down to the layman. And there's fans of certain clubs, your Newcastle, your Aston Villas, that before the season's even started, they say, well, we can't compete. And that's not going to work long term, because the interest will wane somewhere, whether it's the supporter, potential owner, investment, whatever that looks like. And I think we've got to be careful that the kind of rich don't get richer, if that makes sense, in that kind of top six.
Yeah.
And the rest, I think, I guess the way I'd phrase it would be, we've got to be careful it's not taken for granted, that league, for sure. In football, people want to win.
Yeah.
People want to sign footballers. That's how it is. And someone's got to find a mechanism where that works. The one thing overarching no one would ever disagree with is, how do you prevent a club from going out of business? I think that's the absolute key thing, because the football clubs are a key part of the community. And actually the impact on communities, I mean, from an economic perspective, but more so social perspective of clubs going out of business, is catastrophic. That's a big thing that needs to be absolutely protected.
Okay, can I ask you then?
Yeah.
On that, right? Let's use Dorking specifically.
Yeah.
Maybe a really stupid question, but I've never asked. How do you stop yourself going out of business?
Well, just, not build up huge amounts of debt, make sure we've got, like I said, an ownership group with a big vested interest in making the right decisions, and at each turning point. So I think there's a big difference, and I get this is also undervalued. There's a big difference in going out of business and getting relegated. So for me, if a Premier League team does things wrong and end up in the National League, then that's fair game. And for me, this is all about that kind of like, make mistakes all you want and, be defined by the snakes and ladders of this brilliant pyramid, but you cannot risk going out of business.
You'd spend all of your years going up the ladder, and then you would go down the snake for the first time. when you got relegated.
Yes.
How do you deal with that when you've had so many years of climbing that ladder to not, as you've said, completely melt away with one moment of disappointment?
Well, it's like that particular season, we injury ravaged, all sorts of breaks and all sorts. We got relegated purely based on injuries, and that cuts deep now still, because to go through the non-league pyramid, and when you get to the higher end, it's a bottleneck. There's one team get promoted from into the football league. It's two, but it's only ever one automatic. So my point being, that challenge of it's very difficult. You've got to have a fair wind and a lot of luck, because when it's only one up, you can have a brilliant season, but somebody else can have a better one. When you get to the EFL, they have a mechanism of 4 teams up, 4 down. So the relegation was, and still is, by far the biggest negative in our club. But it almost showed that the fans, the ownership group, everybody, everyone kind of stayed with it.
Do you buy into the very popular now school of thought that you learn more from that failure than you did by continuing on the promotion train?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, we got found out by slightly too quick an escalation in promotions. We were busy building a stadium. I was involved in that during that year. We got found out by getting the player recruitment wrong in terms of age and the sort of a genre person, but yeah, the learns from it were massive. And it's a bit like, in my head, and I've never really said this before, but in my head, like, it's a bit like that heavyweight champ. It's a bit like that, they always say, it's almost, bigger accolade to kind of be the sort of like, the 2 times, 3 times, whatever, having those things that knock you down. And from our point of view, I feel like in my head, we hadn't experienced that. And we've now experienced it, and it's made us stronger.
Did it light that fire in you even more?
Yeah.
Maybe not that you needed it, but...
Yeah, majorly. I mean, I'm, 100%. It gets me out of bed every day to deliver. It is that kind of 2 times world champ. They bounce back and actually then have a shot at the EFL from ultimate disappointment. And that journey, because for us, because it's all on camera as well, and it's quite publicised, it's part of that story. So it's a chapter in that journey.
Yeah, I mean, when we've spoken to someone like, let's say, a Spencer again, you talked about the rising costs of going through the leagues, but it doesn't necessarily always correlate to increase in revenue. Have you, which is the real challenge, I guess. Have you seen that as you've moved around, and how much leeway do you give yourself for those promotions where you can go, right, we can maybe stretch ourselves a little bit further this year, knowing that if you then do go back down, your cost base may reduce a little bit, but the revenue won't change? Yeah,
I would say we've been relatively optimistic. If I use that I'll use optimism instead of like carefree. We've followed our nose a lot. We've never ever built up massive debt, nothing like that. So we've never had any kind of like, oh my God, if we get relegated, we can't pay the banks, we can't, that. So, but we've always known we can cut our cloth accordingly. We've always kind of had that delta there to look at and as protection, if you like. But we have chased the ace a lot, which is what you do in football.
Are you losing money
for it? Yeah. We lose money. I mean, if anyone says they don't, then they're either bottom of the table or they're lying. I mean, it's just an industry that's a money drain. I think in non-league football, there should be a lot more support from local government and government. There should be a lot more support because football clubs are heritage. When the government says this year, well, we're going to put national insurance up, 15.5% lower bracket, and all the other trading costs.
Well, the irony is, right, they've recognised the importance of these assets to communities, which is why the football regulator has been put in place.
Exactly. But there is you're so right, there's such a contradiction in terms of like the way, because these clubs are social hubs on a huge level, whether that's like where the single mum or dad takes her son, whether that's where the person without many friends goes to meet people, where families meet families. They're huge things where people participate as well, especially now in non-league football, loads of artificial pitches. But let me tell you, local authorities are charging a bomb for people to use them, and government means that if you run a football club, you're going to get charged for that. And that then goes right down to, like, we try to run bursaries for and we run a lot of football for all schemes in the community, where we literally charge no money because we know that there are people that want to play football that maybe can't afford it. So it is definitely I'm a big in England. This is, in fact, I'll just sum it up, and anyone watching this with a football club or in knowledge of a football club will be nodding. In Jan this year, when we had massive rainfall, we had probably 400 kids that didn't even play football because there isn't enough facilities for them in the UK. There is very much underfunded by government in terms of facilities, unlike most of Europe, and in terms of the cost of running a football club. And that definitely is why it's an expensive game. Back to your original point, do you lose money? Absolutely. Is some of that because we want to win? Yes. Is some of that because it's really expensive to run a football club? Yes.
Yeah. Do you make money? How much money based on revenues would you say comes from non-footballing activities, using the ground, using the club, using the stadium, the license, etc., from stuff, as you said, outside of it?
Yeah, I think maybe 35% of our revenue.
So a third of it. I mean,
yeah,
significant.
Yeah, so we get knocked over sideways when the government says, actually, now this is going to happen. Or the local council say, well, we're going to charge you this for the beauty of, for the luxury of, I mean, you go, if you go and ask, Bury Council now, how do you feel now that your football club went out of business and, you would attract in, 7,000 people and all the commercial economic benefits of that, they then sort of go, yeah, maybe should have dipped in a bit better.
Be quite an interesting one, won't it? If and when, hopefully it won't happen, but if and when a club with a regulator in place hits these challenges, and part of the reason that they've been poorly controlled in their finances is because you've had things like rates go up, and you've had actually government schemes come in to screw some of these clubs, and their response to the regulator is, well, actually it's your bosses.
It's brilliant, isn't it? What a contradiction. Do you know what? I don't mind at all. I mean, I don't mind saying this at all. It's not what's the word, confidential. They DCMS provided survival loans funds, and this is a key. This just literally proves everything you're saying. They called it Winter Survival Fund. It's kind of post-COVID, coming out of COVID. DCMS provided loans, relatively low interest, to football clubs, and they are the pressure they're putting on clubs now. I mean, listen, right, we've kept up with our repayments, right? Every club got them all. That's like a factory setting. There are clubs now across the UK that I can tell you now can't afford to pay them back. They're essentially knocking on the door like a debt collector. They are putting essentially a charge on their business. So they're not allowed to borrow money, these clubs, without the DCMS saying, well, you can borrow it, but, our loan sits ahead of yours. And there's an absolute kerfuffle right now. And these clubs are saying to them, well, what an irony that the money was provided to help community clubs survive at a time when there was no trade, no business. And now you're now making lives more difficult of clubs to get this money back. And at a time when the government, if you like, has made the cost of running this business ridiculously higher. And football clubs are at the mercy of the economy, right? This is the bit people forget. So, like the food supplier, their costs have gone up. They're passing it on to the football club, right? Okay, yeah. The people you employ, their utility costs have gone up, right? But in this football club, you've got this weird thing where, you support through the door of saying, well, what are you doing to support the economy? Because, there's less dispensable income. So can season tickets be less money?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, finish that story, right? And who ultimately feels the effect of that? Because when you get hit by all of those people, what do? You probably put your ticket prices up. Yeah. And when you put your ticket prices up, hey, we're back round to the old fan. And the old fan's the one that actually is out of pocket. You've
got this kind of B2B and B2C like mix in a football club that's difficult to balance.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. When you actually think about it like that, it is crazy.
It really is.
Can you say what revenues do you do a year?
3 million.
3 million, okay.
Yeah, about 3 million.
And do you fund the losses? You, the ownership group, fund the losses?
The ownership group do, yeah, they're brilliant. Yeah, the ownership group do. You obviously you can be successful without making losses, but the reality is anyone who says they are, they'd be probably lying. We are probably more fortunate than most. Our losses are massively reducing. We're probably getting nearer to the sort of point of sustainability than most, but that's because we've been fortunate to build up with the online, coverage that we've got and commercialising that. So we're very fortunate. But how some clubs do it, I don't know.
It's not fortunate. That's strategic.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah,
it is. It is strategic.
Yeah.
I play a game, right, with football clubs and much higher up than you, but genuinely I sit here and we'll often have a conversation with someone and they'll say, yeah, we've got this media plan, we've got a content strategy, blah, 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 we're trying to do it. Okay, cool. How big is your media team? Well, we've got 2.5 people, half a person. Well, yeah, they're kind of crossing over with this. Saying, how many people would you get in your stadium? 25,000 a week? I'm like, you have 2.5 people and a content team, a media team, social media team, whatever you want to call it, servicing a fan base that you're getting that into the stadium, let alone everything around it, competing in some of the most competitive sports environments of the year. What the fuck is going on?
I totally agree.
What is going on? Also, you can't, that's not strategic. That's not a content plan. You are not giving yourself a chance to recognize that.
No.
It's not lucky. You're making a choice.
Yeah, we are making a choice. And I mean, we do 10x the likes of Crystal Palace and I've put it out there, right? Okay, we know our stats, we know Premier League stats, and we are massive, right? But if you look at the opportunity, to your point, that these clubs have got, I mean, it's really weird, Premier League, because I've known many. This is quite strange to get head around. The managers that run the under 23s in these Premier League clubs, they are earning probably what a London Underground driver earns or less. The value they put on. This is going to come back to your point. The value they put on the bloke that develops all of the young players in the club is the same as a London Underground driver gets in the it's madness. And the reserve left back probably gets more than that a week. And it goes the same to social media. I don't think these clubs realise that even though they probably, obviously they do yield and make a lot of money through Premier League, they still got a huge opportunity. And the EFL clubs are similar to the ones you mentioned there, nowhere near it, way off it. They don't even understand really where it is and where it's going.
But again, it's the same reasons we've already discussed. If you can then say, well, why is that the case? Go, but and fair enough. It's another line on the sheet. Right, it's more expense behind the scenes, and that is another revenue, another cost, let's say, as it's viewed, that goes away from how are we going to get promoted from League One to the Championship next season. Short-term impact. Yeah. The long-term of you building up that media team in this day and age will far outweigh financially. I think it's spending those extra few thousand in the player, but it's very hard for clubs to think outside of it.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's commonplace that they're blindsided, and it's there's so many opportunity, video on demand, and because obviously you've only got to look at what people want to see at their, these kids now 10, 12, 15, what they want to see is things on demand constantly, and that is what these clubs aren't very good at doing.
Tell us, go on, tell everyone that doesn't know, what have you done? How have you approached it? What have you learned? Bunch of amateurs, there's everything around the media profile that you've built in a club to give you now this exposure, the opportunity to...
Well, I think we capitalise on showing people my character and...
What character?
Yeah, this is me behaving. If any
you did say to me before you started, I'm not going to swear. Actually, you haven't yet, which
I'm so impressed.
Amazed by.
I know, but... it's a good opportunity. I appreciate being it. It's an opportunity to talk about things that I never get. No, people only normally care about when I threaten the referee at the end of the York game. I think my character, we've got this natural club trajectory that's interesting. My character interesting, but I said there's a lot of characters in the game. There's loads of people like me. We had a guy turn up rich with a camera, said I want to start filming stuff, and a lot of it's down to Richard. Really, it's been a bit of a match made in heaven. Sounds a bit crap, but he literally put mics on us and then just said, right, do you mind having a mic? I was like, I don't really care. Had no idea where it was going to go. He then started showing the content, and it's kind of like also the timing was important, because it was like, YouTube starting to evolve, TikTok massively starting to evolve, and a lot of short form content that people want to see. And what we've shown people is obviously the real side of a football club. But we're very lucky because a lot of managers can't show the real them because they're worried about getting sacked by either the owner or the fans.
It's your protection. Mark the owner, Mark the manager, you can go and say that on there. Oh, thanks, Mark the owner. Yeah, that's great.
I know. So we've just been refreshing, and we've managed to get this kind of mix that we've got a brilliant relationship with referees, like, even though...
Really?
Yeah, we have, like... I'm on about my 5th seminar now where I get invited to be speaker with all the referees, and such is their respect, because they kind of get us. They get that we love football. They get that everything comes from a great place, and some of that content they see where I'm trying to get into the fourth official, and but it's true. They say it's been eye-opening for them. They say, well, why are you trying to get into the fourth official? And I say, well, I'll tell you why. If you know, look back at the video, I didn't try and get into the fourth official until the 15th minute. But during the first 15 minutes, I noticed he was spending too much time talking to the other manager. So what I want to make sure I do is make sure he's not going to get influenced. I'm going to make his job tougher on the day. And they go, well, that's a good point. So you think if we probably have a bit more of a, arm's length approach, it'd probably avoid... Yeah, absolutely. That's the only reason I do it. Okay, that's interesting. Mark, why did you tell that ref? Why did you tell that ref? Why do you shout at that ref so bad? So, I'll go, well, because he didn't book me. He didn't book me. So I'm gonna keep at that ref to influence decisions until the point he deals with me. Because I think he can be influenced. And this eye opener for referees, I'm talking top down, has been like, okay, yeah, let's really think about it. So the point is,
and that's content.
It's content, but and people love hearing it, right? And I love talking about it. So the point is, the eye opening content, people kind of get it's good for the game. And it's worked out that people value it. Yeah. So,
but I hate using the word, but we have to. The hardest thing now is the authenticity of that content, right? Because I hear it all the time, obviously in what we do, doing even this, right? Oh, how great is Welcome to Wrexham. We're just going to go and buy an asset or be a part of an asset, and we're going to set up a series and we're going to document how we've done it, and it's all going to be great. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, in theory, there's been a pretty good use point of that. The one challenge is, firstly, you're not Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, shame.
Which for a lot of people is a
We'd
shame.
We'd love to be, yeah.
Secondly, you have probably completely different points of attraction as an asset or a club or whatever that give you a good reason to do that. So every time people now look at this, yes, there is huge opportunity in content, but you can't just wake up and decide you need to do it. You really have to be clear on what you're trying to achieve from it. So as you talk around that, whether it's even just as simple as going, we're going to bring my personality out and we're going to show you what it's really like going in from a manager's perspective, who's also happens to be an owner, to tell the most incredible story within football. Great. Yeah. I know what I'm in for.
Yeah. Completely.
I'm locked in. If I'm a Premier League club, you talked about doing more than Palace, right? If I'm a Premier League club, what am I actually getting if I'm following a Palace content? So some of the Premier League content stuff, when it's been on Amazon All or Nothing, I don't know, I found the most stale, boring often things. The Man City one, no one wants to, I didn't want to just tune in and watch them win every week. I didn't find it interesting really at all. It didn't show me what.
Well, I mean, if you'd done a test and said, you put down all the Premier League teams and said, now write down their sponsors on the front of their shirts, right? You'd be struggling to get past 3,
especially now,
right? And this is the thing, and this is exactly it. I look at
easy if you're Chelsea.
Yeah, true. But the point is, growing up, football was in magazines and on TV. Right, so as sponsors' shirt was front and center of all the eyeballs that looked at them. But now it's kind of very much that kind of stimulative, like the billboard thing. Once you drive past the billboard twice, you don't recognize it a third time.
Yeah,
fact, right? And this is this is where kind of football shirt sponsors now, it's actually lower value, weirdly, than ever before for these people. But if they're in front of 500 million people like we were last year online, and the demographic, it's 75, 85% male between this age to that age, then I'm preaching to converted here. The value of that is a no market, right?
So do you see, compared to other clubs, let's say at your level, have you seen that revenue needle move in accordance with the success that you've had in those areas? You've been able to monetize it
massively. All people want to do now is get their brand in front of the right people. Back in the day, I mean, my background, believe it or not, is advertising, right? So there is a combination here. But back in the day, you would say to somebody, well, if you sponsor that football shirt, loads of people are going to see it. Right, okay, can you prove that to me? Well, you like football. Do you ever watch Match of the Day? Yes, I do.
Cool.
Right, brilliant. There you go. We'll sign up. Now you can literally say, well, actually, we've got this many million people a week that see our content, okay, and they're actually between the ages of X and Y, and actually they're from this type of demographic, so they're interested in that. And they'll go, right, well, that's what we sell, and that's the people we're trying to target, so here's my money. So it's a bit like the data on field. It's a science that it's an easy sell. And much undervalued. I think you made a great point before about these people are recruiting for social media managers. They don't even know what they're recruiting for starters, and it's just so undervalued.
Oh, massive.
Yeah,
but a massive opportunity.
Yeah,
right. So as you said, but if you understand what it is you're doing, you can't just do it and say, let's do Welcome to Wrexham Volume 15 or whatever.
And I see it a lot. I see stuff like that a lot. I see people saying, oh, here's our changing room. And it's like, well,
so what?
There's loads of changing rooms. Yeah, what are you doing there
Who
then?
cares?
Yeah.
Tell me about, you got the season starting on Saturday, right? Looking forward. You've had all of this story, all the success building up to now. Ambitions, I would imagine, right? Let's just take it off the table, get as high as you can, of course, right? You're running a football club, you want to do that.
Yeah.
But how do you look at what comes next for the club? How do you look and keep giving yourself that motivation moving forward, your role within this whole project, when to bring people in like you have done, when not to?
Yeah.
Just interested in that part of your mind.
We're a closed shop in terms of I think owners' investment, we're there where we want to be now. I think we've got the people around us to get to the EFL. You have to have a fair wind because of this one up. I call it one up because there's playoffs and every year it's a coin toss. We've seen clubs that have done brilliantly. Bromley, National League, League 2, League 1, Stockport, National League, League 2, League 1, obviously Wrexham, anomaly, National League Championship. So we believe with a fair wind we can do EFL. We're one of probably 16, 17 clubs outside of the Football League, maybe more, maybe 20, between the conference and the south and the north, that would say this is where we want to be. We're not happy being where we are. We want to get to Wembley. We've got these kind of like school childhood dreams we want to achieve for the club. And I feel like we're not looking any further than that. And I think that's always worked well for us, is having a plan, but just not too much. Because a 5-year plan gets changed 2 years in, so is it a 2-year plan? So...
Mark, look, it's incredible. I love it. It's such a different story. As I said to you at the beginning, you have so many different types of football chats on the show. You never quite know where they're going to go. But genuinely, having the opportunity to look at something properly on performance side, properly tied into executive side, and how that works in some miraculous way together is really cool. But firstly, congratulations on doing everything that you've done.
Thank you.
And fingers crossed you managed to keep achieving everything that you want to. And most importantly, for sharing it. Because it's a great story.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite and talking about how passionate side of the game.
I love it. You can't beat it, can you?
No, you can't. It's brilliant. And we just, no matter what, when I get back in the car outside, I'll just want to win on Saturday.
Yeah, well, exactly. I was going to say good luck on the weekend, and Dagenham, a massive game. So I'm sure you'll do a great job. I'll look for you on the touchline.
Yeah, cheers, Charlie.
But cheers. Take care.
Thank you, mate. Cheers, Charlie.